right, everybody. Hello. Good morning. Oh, yes. I love it. Good morning. I love seeing all of these faces in the room. I love seeing all the different folks from all different sectors. Thank you so much for joining us today. Good morning to you. My name is Channing Matthews. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Psychology and an affiliate of Youth-Nex and TYDE that's presenting this conference today. I'm one of the faculty co-chairs that's been planning and supporting this conference, so it's so nice to see you all in the room to see the manifestation of all this work. So I'm so honored to welcome you here this morning, especially our parents and students. Thank you so much for joining us today. So before we begin, please join me in acknowledging the Monacan and Powhatan people as traditional custodians of this land and around the lands we are on today. Dispossessed from these lands and continuing to live with that legacy, we pay respects to their elders, past and present. Our acknowledgement of the Monacan and Powhatan people reflects a commitment to respect and greater inclusion through a formal recognition of those who were here first and those whose continued presence is important to our future. We also acknowledge and pay respect to the individual lives of the African peoples and their descendants who were forced to dedicate their labor to the construction of what is now the University of Virginia. Scholars estimate that at least 5,000 Black enslaved laborers worked on the grounds, with many in residence, starting with the construction of the lawn in 1817 and lasting through the end of the Civil War in 1865. These people built and then sustained the everyday life of the university. These acknowledgements are but one form of public intervention, but serves as a necessary step towards honoring the Monacan and Powhatan people and enslaved laborers. We reflect on the injustices committed to these Native communities and enslaved peoples. We honor their stories, told and untold, their descendants past, and leaders present and emerging. So today, now that we've acknowledged our people, my day and my job is to set the stage of how we will engage each other throughout the day. I'm otherwise known as the conference hype woman. So if you need something, come find me, all right? So first and foremost, think about this as a big networking opportunity, all right? There are a lot of folks in this room, and we want you to get to know each other during the breaks and that time. There are researchers, there are practitioners, there are students, and we're all learning from each other. So we want you to take the opportunity to learn and get to know one another better so we can learn and grow together. We have a lot of people in the room, so we want you to create new networks, new partnerships. We want to see things emerge from your connection. Use the conference directory to make notes of who you've met with other attendees. Use the notes page on your program or the notebooks that are provided on your table when you think about something you want to do differently and when you leave out of the conference. And know that a bunch of teachers put together this conference, so y'all are going to be doing a lot of engaging in discussion. All right? And be prepared to share out during closing. You'll get as much out of this conference as you put into it, so I encourage you to throw yourself in. All right, so the last thing I have the honor of doing is welcoming and introducing the School of Education and Human Development Dean, Dr. Stephanie Rowley, who will give some opening remarks. So Dean Rowley is the William R. Keenan Jr. Professor of Education. She previously served as Provost and Dean of Teachers College at Columbia University and in multiple leadership roles at the University of Michigan. Her research broadly explores how parents' attitudes towards race and gender and their own social experiences influence children's motivation in school. And for those of you who don't know, this is not Dean Rowley's first time at UVA. She received her master's and PhD in developmental psychology from UVA. And her husband, Larry, is a graduate of the School of Education and Human Development's very own higher education program. Dean Rowley comes to us with a distinguished career as a scholar and with a lengthy record of publications, grants, and awards. But I'm not going to list all of those for you today. You can read about them in her bio. Instead, we're here to talk about youth development and youth mental health And so I want to highlight Dean Rowley's leadership, an extensive record of mentoring, all of which reflect a dedication to authentic engagement with making space for the people and youth voices around her. Her commitment to young people in educational spaces is truly impressive, and I can think of no other person to be giving opening remarks here for this morning. And on a personal note, I am one of the direct beneficiaries of Dean Rowley's mentorship, as she served as the chair of my doctoral program at the University of Michigan. And she was my official fifth committee member of my dissertation committee. And I secretly called her my shadow boxer in her advocacy for me. And it was her encouragement and belief in my intellectual contributions that helped me stay the course and become the professor you see standing in front of you. Oh, girl, okay. Breathing. So, thank you, Dean Rowley, for teaching me persistence when giving up felt so much easier. And with that, I'm going to welcome Dean Rowley to the stage. Is she need them? Okay, she's got it. Oh my gosh, I tried to get through.
Not prepared for the ugly cry this morning. Thank you to Channing. So I have to say the other side of that story, which was that I literally remember the day that we read her application for graduate school. And I remember sitting around with my colleagues saying, could we be so lucky to get Channing? She has an amazing background. And we were so lucky, and so really the pleasure is is all mine. And Channing really was the first person I told that I was coming to UVA. It was still a secret. And I texted her and said, we're going to be neighbors. So we ended up coming at the same time. So such a pleasure. Well, my job this morning is to really, first of all, just welcome you all to UVA. Welcome from the School of Education and Human Development. Welcome to the 9th annual conference of Youth-Nex. I also have to say that for me, a big draw for coming to UVA was really the prospect of being able to connect with Youth-Nex. And so I want to welcome you to the day and just get us thinking about what the occasion is all about. So first, I wanted to start with a big thank you to our conference co-chairs. That is Dr. Nancy Deutsch, Mike Lyons, who I saw in here, Channing Matthews, Stephanie Sakara, and our first ever youth co-chair, Zahara, who I got to meet just this morning, as well as the Youth-Nex team and everyone else who helped to make this possible. And I also want to mention our Thriving Youth in Digital Environment at UVA for putting together this wonderful event. Thank you to our co-chairs of that effort. So as Channing said, I'm a developmental psychologist. I was trained right here at UVA in the psychology department. And my work primarily focuses on parents and how they shape youth identity development. But I also think a lot about how other sorts of agents like social media more broadly, influence kids' beliefs about gender and about race and about social class. And so I was really excited about the topic for this year's conference, as well as for this new grand challenge at the university on thriving youth in the digital environment. So we know so much about the centrality of digital media of all sorts for youth and youth development. And I'm really excited to start to really put together rigorous research with what we already know. So the Surgeon General, as you may recall, described the mental health crisis as the defining public health crisis of our time. You may also recall that the Surgeon General talked about the particular dangers of social media and the implications for mental health in our youth. However, we also know that there's relatively little rigorous research that really identifies where digital technology is harmful, where and when it can be used to support well-being, and where and when it is just another context of development. There's even less understanding of how technology can be harnessed to support youth and to help them to connect with others who are like them in particular. This is where you all come in. And when I say you all, I literally mean all of you who are in this room. It's really critical that we have your voice at the table to start thinking about and shaping the agenda for the, I'm assuming, decades to come as we try to unravel these questions. I'm delighted that we have so many teens attending the conference, teens from beyond Virginia's border, teens from our Youth Advisory Council, teens from our Youth Action Lab, teens from our community through the YMCA, and teams who attended our first Teen Summit earlier this year. As I mentioned a moment ago, this is the first Youth-Nex conference to include a youth co-chair. How wonderful. And I just want to pause to say, Zahara spent her summer working with the conference organizers to think about how to make this a really special and meaningful engagement for you all. And so I just thank Zahara again for her critical insight in building this conference's program. To the adults in the room, our charge is to really think about the ways in which we're incorporating genuine youth voices into what we do. We have to always remember that youth have tremendous ability to learn, to lead, and to contribute. And in doing so, we have to be careful not to underestimate their abilities and to overestimate their experience. We want teens to speak up, to have courage, to share their ideas with adults. And we want more adults, like you all in the room, to listen and incorporate their ideas into our future work on these topics. We have to provide the conditions under which you feel comfortable getting involved and partnering with us on these really big, critical issues. Top-down decisions will not work here. We need to really involve the youth and their perspectives. And of course, honor the fact that they understand their own mental health. They understand the environment around them and how those things are connected. As a School of Education and Human Development, it's our great privilege and duty to lead scholarship and training around the world in the understanding the developing human. It's our mission to transform education and health outcomes in Virginia, but also beyond, through research, instruction, and most importantly today, through community engagement. Youth-Nex and this conference exemplify what it means to be both great and good, values that are central to our mission in EHD, but also to the university. I see this greatness and goodness as Youth-Nex commitment to holistic, community-engaged youth development. I see it in the evidence-based research and the strategies that address real-world challenges while advancing equity. I see it in how youth voices, especially those from marginalized communities, are amplified to shape innovative programming. And I see greatness and goodness right here in this room. Thank you for your participation, for coming out. I am hopeful that the log jam on 64 will be over soon. And I really hope, as Channing said, that these connections that you all make today will be enduring. So we have an opportunity to make connections among youth, practitioners, researchers from different disciplines and backgrounds, and that this enriches the dialogue around mental health and the role of digital technology. So I certainly hope that everyone in this room will leave today with at least one thing they're thinking about and will do something differently as a result. So it's now my pleasure to introduce the Director of Youth-Nex, who is also our Associate Dean for Faculty Affairs and the Linda K. Bunker Professor of Education, Dr. Nancy Deutsch.
All right, thank you, Dr. Rolling. So, to give you a little background, welcome everyone. So Youth-Nex was founded in 2009 with seed funding from the Altria Group. We gratefully acknowledge this important support. Dr. Patrick Tolan was the founding director of Youth-Nex, and he saw an opportunity to really expand and apply the science of positive youth development to address fundamental challenges that were facing societies around the world. Through science, Youth-Nex enhances the strengths of children and adolescents and prevents developmental risk. Our vision is that our nation's youth, a rich, often untapped resource, may flourish. Further, we aim to bring young people to the center of research, practice, and policy, ensuring that those of us who work with and support youth are doing so informed by their voices, knowledge, and expertise. So today, Youth-Nex work focuses on 3 domains: applying the science of adolescence to educational systems with a particular focus on middle school, because we recognize that middle school is an often overlooked section of the educational pipeline, but some of us love middle school. Building adult and community capacity to promote positive youth development. And third, amplifying youth voice and agency, because we believe that youth should be at the center of discussions and decisions about their lives. Youth-Nex is dedicated to both conducting and translating high-quality developmental science to help ensure that every young person, regardless of who they are or where they live, has the resources, relationships, and capacities that they need to thrive. This year, we're excited to be collaborating with UVA Thriving Youth in a Digital Environment, aka TYDE, to bring you a conference exploring the relationship between digital technology and youth thriving. Although there's a lot of attention being paid to the role of digital technology in youth's lives, especially in relation to mental health, the research is really more limited and more complex, as Dean Rowley noted, than popular narratives really lead us to believe. So TYDE's aim is to help us better understand both the impact of digital technology on healthy youth development and technology's potential to support intervention and prevention solutions, including how we can leverage digital technology to promote equitable access to mental health supports and treatment. So to these ends, over the next day and a half, we will hear from experts and have the opportunity to learn from youth, from researchers, from policymakers, and from practitioners about what they think is crucial to know to guide decisions about youth and digital technology. I want to thank Bethany Teachman, the co-director of TYDE, for her partnership in this work, and the TYDE community for their support of the conference, including some of the co-chairs who Dr. Matthews mentioned earlier. I also want to again thank Zahara for being the youth co-chair of the conference. So this conference topic is both important and timely. Dean Rowley is right. Top-down decisions relating to youth mental health, digital technology, and positive youth development likely will not work. If we're truly interested in meaningful and lasting solutions, youth voices have to be involved and at the center of what we're doing from the ground up. So we thought about this when designing our conference logo. So the logo is not just a random mishmash of images. We think about teens at the center of everything we do. The 2024 teen also has all the technology with them, from laptops to cell phones to cool laptop stickers. But some of their thoughts may start at a darker, tangled place with lots of different information at their fingertips. But we want our work across all the sectors represented in this room to start to lighten those thoughts, to move towards more clarity and better mental health. We know that throughout adolescence, there's an incredible amount of brain development happening. Digital technology is now part of how learning is occurring with young people in school, during after school hours, and at home. So part of our charge in the next 2 days is to think about all the ways we can support teens to focus their thoughts and feelings into words. In this graphic, we're moving to a targeted speech. We want to engage and listen to youth voices in genuine ways so that teens ultimately have a clear and healthy understanding of the world around them and can use their voices in designing healthy youth digital futures. And if you're on social media and using that digital technology today, make sure to use our conference tag, #YouthDigitalFutures24, in all your conference-related posts. You will also note the social media handles, I believe that's the right word, handles of both TYDE and Youth-Nex are on your tables. So this is a teen in 2024. But we can't forget computer coding is behind everything we're doing with digital technology. So if you can see the little binary instructions running behind the youth there, zeros and ones, those are always changing and influencing what we do. So keep this conference image with you as we engage in the conference content over the next 2 days. So as I prepare to kick off the first panel, I want to make a couple of acknowledgements. So there are many, many people who help make the conference happen. So as I noted earlier, our funding from Altria makes this conference possible. So thank you to Altria for their continued support. Youth-Nex and this conference would not be possible without them. The Youth-Nex and TYDE staff have worked tirelessly behind the scenes to make that happen, including Sherry and Abby, Crystal and Martha, and Claire and Abby. And a special thanks goes out to Leslie Barine, who helps make all the big ideas and small details happen. I'd also like to extend a special thank you to all the student and teen volunteers who are helping out throughout the conference. When you see any student volunteer with an orange ribbon or a staff member with green ribbons on their name tags, please say thank you. I also want to say thank you to all the youth who will be sharing their expertise with us, as well as to all the parents and adults who are supporting them being here. I also want to share a couple housekeeping items. So first, many of us are adults doing work with minors or in youth-facing roles. As Dean Rowley mentioned, we have a number of teens at the conference, some who are here with parents, and others who are being supported by our Youth-Nex staff. As an attendee, we ask you to take their safety seriously and engage in appropriate practices so everyone has a positive experience. Second, restrooms for adult attendees can be found on both the left and right of the back of the hall. A non-gendered bathroom is also available up front near the manning rooms here on my right. So if you go right in this room, there is a non-gendered bathroom or gender-neutral bathroom to the right. And youth or minors who are joining us should use the designated youth bathroom right inside this hall to the left. Finally, there are areas outside here at Alumni Hall where you can go to eat if you prefer outdoor seating during meals and snacks as you network with other attendees. If you happen to be leaving the conference early, we ask you to please use the QR codes on your table to share your event feedback.